Whether you witness it by milk carton or by flyer, you know that thousands of people go missing. To put it into numbers, it's estimated that 600,000 people disappear every year in the United States, approximately 180,000 missing in the United Kingdom, and sadly many more throughout the world. The semi-good news is that anywhere between 89 to 92% of those are recovered, whether they have passed over or found alive. The bad news is that about 10% are never found or seen again. It's as if they disappeared off the face of the earth. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be examining 3 of those notorious and quite sinister cases. Long Island man finds missing father's bones in his own basement. Imagine if your mother told you that your father had gone out to do something only to have him never return again. That turned out to be a reality for a Long Island man named Michael Carroll. Back when his parents purchased his childhood home in 1957, he lived there with his 3 other siblings. They were all below the age of 10 when their father disappeared in 1961. Ever since then, they never found any clear answers as to where he went. On top of that, they heard multiple conflicting stories and were even told to stay quiet. Perhaps it was for their own protection. When Michael's mother passed away during the 1990s, the siblings thought that any answers she might have possessed went with her to the grave. However, they could not stop thinking about their mysterious father's disappearance, even when they inherited the home. With more freedom to act, they decided to investigate former neighbors and psychics in the hopes that they could uncover any answers. However, perhaps due to intuition or some cruel twist of fate, they would not find any answers in the living. Instead, something told Michael to take a closer look again at his childhood home's basement. It was the same basement that he tried to independently excavate back in 2015, but stopped because the project got dangerous. Now that he felt an urge to explore it again, he brought in professional help in the form of ground-penetrating radar. Together with his brothers, they focused the radar on certain areas of the basement and dug around for months until they finally stumbled upon something unusual. Quickly they realized they had found a pile of bones nearly 6 feet underground, surrounded by thick cement walls. It did not take long for them to suspect that those bones were the ones of their missing father. What is even more sinister is that the day they found the skeletal remains was October the 31st on the night of Halloween. Although medical examiners have yet to confirm by DNA if they are the bones of their father, Michael and his siblings are convinced. Perhaps they can finally enjoy that closure that they have been craving for over 6 decades with a proper burial and memorial. Yet, that gap in the nature of his disappearance might not ever fully bring closure. The discovery of his bones only opens up a can of worms when it comes to questioning how he got there in the first place. Who took his life? Could their mother have had anything to do with it? And how did the bones end up underground without the family ever knowing? Michael believes he might have a suspicion on how the bones ended up in the basement, but chose not to reveal what he knows. Although the Carroll family might never realize the full truth of what happened, they can finally pay their respects and move on. As those who look in on the situation from outside, we can only appreciate the circumstances of this mystery and how it continues to haunt us to this day. The disappearance of Angela Freeman. "Mama, I love you. I'll see you Friday." Those were the last words that Deborah Freeman ever heard from her daughter. Soon after, the 17-year-old named Angela Freeman told her mother that she was going to spend Thursday night with her friend. However, 2 days later, the 1984 Honda Accord car that she had just handed her mother a cash payment for was found abandoned near a bridge in Missouri. Angela was nowhere to be found. To make matters even worse, she was 4 months pregnant at the time. In the beginning, authorities simply shrugged it off as a missing persons case. Even though mobile phones did not exist back then, missing teenagers were bound to show up within a day or two. Yet, that was not the case for Angela. Instead of finding her daughter safe and sound, Deborah found blood on the car instead. In fear, they instantly notified the police. It turns out that what was dismissed as merely transmission fluid. After this, blood was confirmed to be found next to her car. After numerous diver and cadaver dog searches around the area, all that was discovered were her shoes found in 2 separate areas. Suddenly, this case transformed from a disappearance to a homicide. No one could sit around and wait for her to show any longer. The detectives revealed that Angela was last seen outside of an old Pizza Hut at around 1 a.m. on a Friday. Her whereabouts after she'd left couldn't be traced. They suspected that a man who was seen washing his car and hunting near the bridge area was involved, but they did not have enough evidence to confirm anything. No matter how desperate everyone was to find Angela, it seemed that all hope was lost. It has been decades since she said goodbye to her mother on that fateful day of September 8, 1993. Even though Angela herself was so excited to be a mother, she would never be able to realize that dream. However, people like Police Captain Rusty Keys have still not given up. In due time, Angela Freeman's disappearance might no longer stay a mystery. The disappearance of Annie Heron. News was astir when it was made apparent that a wife of one of Missouri's richest businessmen has suddenly gone missing. What made the case even more interesting was that the 72-year-old Annie Lauren Heron disappeared shortly after she had hosted an innocent bridge club party. Actually, to be exact, she did not merely disappear. She was abducted. After drops of blood were discovered in the house, a ransom note was also picked up. In what seemed like a crazy novel plot, it detailed how Annie would only be freed after her wealthy husband paid a large amount of money to 12 people that he had supposedly harmed in connection with a school photography business. It came to no surprise that news of this hostage situation started circulating nationwide less than 24 hours later. With an estimated net worth of more than $200 million, Robert M. Heron wanted it to be clear that he was willing to do anything to get Annie back. That urge was further heightened after another letter came, this time from Annie herself. She pleaded that her husband cooperate in fear that they would lock her in a cellar with only a few jugs of water. In response, Robert quickly handed over $1 million to the 12 men. However, Annie's body was never returned or even found. It's suspected that she passed away from her injuries in 1991. Her husband also lost his life from a heart attack just a year before. Among all the possible kidnappers, only one was ever convicted. That man went to the grave without admitting any guilt. He passed away after being released from prison in 2012. Whether Annie Heron is actually alive still remains a mystery. Although she may never actually be found, her case will still live on in those that are most passionate about a never-ending story. But what do you make of these missing person stories? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.